everybody, it's Kelsee Briana J here with an eyeshadow palette showdown featuring 2 eyeshadow palettes. And as you guys know from the title, the 2 eyeshadow palettes are the Anastasia Beverly Hills Sultry Palette and the Urban Decay Naked Reloaded Palette. So in today's video, I'm going to be putting these 2 eyeshadow palettes head to head to see which one prevails. So I'm going to be comparing things like the formula, the color saturation, how long it takes me to apply these eyeshadows, and just which one I think is just flat out prettier. And when I initially saw the Naked Reloaded palette, it immediately reminded me of the Sultry palette. So I made it my mission to do this video. But let's go ahead and jump into it and see which palette prevails. Also, let me know what your preference is down in the comment section after you see the demonstration. I look forward to reading what you guys think. So let's do it. Let's start off on my right eye. I'm going to take the color Bucks with a MAC 217 brush. And let's pop that. Ooh. Take 2. Tap it off. And then let's go in a circular motion and buff this color out. Okay. Let's go back and forth. Make sure that it's really blended. Let's take a little bit more. Really build up this color. You may have to go over it a few times to get it to be this saturated, but this is what I want it to look like. Let's step into the Sultry palette and pick up Birch. And let's do the same exact placement right in the crease and then blend it upwards. Automatically, I can tell you that this color is a little bit more neutral in tone than the color from the Urban Decay palette, but altogether, it shouldn't make that big of a difference. And this color is a little bit more saturated, so I don't have to build it up as much. Back into Naked Reloaded, I'm going to take the color Endgame. I want this color right on the, every time I try to leave, something keeps holding me back. Okay, so again, take 14. I'm going to go in with this color. And I was going to say lightly, but I really don't have that option now. So I'm going to go in with this color very prominently and apply this on the outer corner. And then blend it up into the crease. I'm just going to concentrate it on the lid now and then bring it over. And then blend out that crease. I'm going to go back in with a little bit more of Bucks just to blend out that edge. Because that got real intense real fast. Yeah. Despite this being a lot of eyeshadow that deposited initially, it actually blended out to be not that intense. Back into Sultry, and I'm going to take the color Dystopian. Let's pop Dystopian all across the lid like the other color was. Anastasia's formula is a little bit more compacted. It doesn't splay all over the lids. It allows you to really build it up and be particular with the placement. I'm just going to do the same thing though, since the other one had the eyeshadow all across in the crease and all across on the lid. Just to keep it even. Okay, so this is much darker than the brown from the Urban Decay palette. Just like with the Urban Decay palette, I'm going to go back with the color Birch in the crease just to blend out those edges. So this is where we are as of right now. I feel like the Anastasia side is a little bit more rich in tone. I feel like the Urban Decay side is a little bit warmer. Urban Decay, Anastasia. Now I'm going to go back into the Urban Decay with the color Bloom. This is a Sonia G Builder 3. I'm going to pop this on my lid. So let's just pack it on, blend it next to that brown, and I'm going to blend it all the way over towards the inner corner. But I'm going to leave that inner corner blank because I do want to apply a different color there. And having used this color once before, I know it takes a minute to build it up. That's okay. I'm willing to be patient with it, but just use packing motions. And I'm dipping back into the color just to build it up until it's fully opaque. As you all can see, I'm taking it up to the crease, but not in the crease. So I have that applied, but as you guys can see, I covered up all of the brown on the lid. So I'm just going to go back with a tiny smidgen of that. Let's re-deepen up this outer corner. So I got the corally color as pigmented as I could. I packed it on several times, and I feel like this is about where it's going to be. So let's take the Builder Pro brush and go into the Anastasia palette and take the color Bloom. And let's just apply this on the lid. Same thing. So I'm just going to take this brush, build up this color. I haven't dipped back in yet. So that can attest to the pigmentation and the saturation because I haven't needed to dip back. I feel like I got what I needed. I got what I came for. At this point, I'm rocking with seriously different eye looks, but similar color stories. This one is more like hot pink flamingo. This one is more coral. I definitely have to clean up my under eye on this side. This side I had a little bit, but not really. Coming back into the Urban Decay palette, I'm going to take a MAC pencil brush in the color Barely Baked. And let's go ahead and pop that on the inner corner and blend it over very carefully. And let's go ahead and take that on the lower inner corner as well. For whatever reason, I feel like I keep losing pigmentation right here. Right here. So now I'm going to take a Tom Ford pencil brush in the color Steampunk. Let's go ahead and pop that on the Anastasia Beverly Hills side. And again, apply that on the lower inner corner as well. But you all can see the Anastasia Gold is much more vibrant. Back into the Urban Decay palette and taking the color Distilled with the pencil brush. I'm going to take this on the middle of the lower lash line. So connect it with that gold. Take it on over. Leave a little bit of space on the very outer. I actually am going to spray my brush and let's intensify that. Okay. Back into Anastasia and I'm going to take the color Ember. And again, let's pop that on the middle. Okay. I'm going to spray this with Dewy Set Anastasia's. And let's pop that right on the middle. Anastasia's color is a lot more intense than Urban Decay's color. Back into Naked Reloaded, I'm going back with Endgame and my pencil brush. And I am going to pop this right on the very outer corner and then blend it up to the top. In Sultry, let's go back with Dystopian. I'm going to take that again, same placement, and then blend it up. Okay, so you guys can see what the finished eye look looks like on both sides. Urban Decay, Anastasia Beverly Hills. So now I'm going to add liner and lashes and I'll be right back. So here's the Urban Decay eye with lashes. And here's the Anastasia eye with lashes. So now both of my eyes are done, so let's talk about which one I prefer. Pros of each. I like the packaging of the Urban Decay palette. It's very slim. I like that it has a fabric on it. I like that it has that little cushion on top. I feel like the colors in this palette are not intimidating. They're very user friendly and you can do a lot of looks using this palette. I feel like this is a good everyday type palette, especially if you work in a more professional environment like an office or if you go to a lot of events where your makeup needs to be subdued. I feel like this will be a good palette for that. So then we have the pros of the Sultry palette, which I also really like this packaging, but for different reasons. This packaging has this really bold brown glitter and it just looks sultry as the name states. This palette does come with a brush, although I don't use the brush. It is there for anybody who needs it. And I feel like this palette is very bold and intense without having to spray any spray to make the eyeshadows be foiled or use any additional adhesives to really make the eyeshadows pop. All of the eyeshadows in this palette are very finely milled and they give you an intense eye look. Now let's go through the cons. The cons for the Naked Reloaded palette are that I feel like these eyeshadows are very powdery. I got a ton of fallout. So you definitely need a sticky adhesive to get these eyeshadows to stick. Otherwise, the big bad wolf can come and huff and puff and blow your eyeshadow away. I had to pack on that coral to get it to be fully opaque. This eyeshadow is definitely a lot more fragile and it's going to take a lot more packing on to get that color to stay. I also feel like this palette is lacking one more deeper color just to really intensify the eye look. I feel like all of the colors in this palette are extremely light and this color is the darkest color, but yet on me, as you guys saw, it still wasn't that dark even with me applying a lot of it initially. So the level of depth that you can achieve with this palette is pretty limited. So as far as the Sultry palette, I wish this palette had a color in between this color and this color, maybe like a caramel type color. But aside from that, the only thing that I can say about this palette is that it's cool toned, which isn't a con. It's just going to come down to a personal preference. Do you like cool toned eyeshadows or not? So after using both of the palettes and weighing out the pros and the cons, I definitely prefer the Sultry palette. I feel like the Sultry palette is formulated a little bit better. The colors are more saturated. They're not as powdery. I just feel like these colors pop a little bit better on my complexion than this palette. I don't think this palette is horrible. I just think that it's very light, and I feel like the eyeshadows are just very powdery in texture. So I feel like it took me longer to do my eye look using this palette. I prefer this one. I think this one wins. I feel like Urban Decay can put their number 2s in the air because Anastasia did it on them. No, I'm just kidding. But those are my thoughts on the palettes. Let me know what you all think down below. If you guys have 2 palettes that have similar color stories that you want me to compare in the future, leave those recommendations down in the comment section, and I will check you all in my very next video. Smooches. Bye.